And welcome to another edition of Nights Around the Fire podcast. I'm David Thompson, and of course, Sue Taylor's with me. We're at the Frank Sherris Public Library in Canonsburg, PA, one of my haunts here. And we have a special interview today. If you've watched any of our videos, we've been talking a lot about our neighbors to the south, Greene County. And a book was written, Haunted Hills and Hallows, by, here it is, Kevin Paul. And we have him here to interview. And I know this is going to be a great interview. There's so much we appreciate from this book. And we've done a little this, little of that from it on our podcasts. And Sue knows that she read through the book, and her dog...
my dog also really enjoyed the book.
Had it as well. So let's bring in Kevin. Kevin, how you doing?
Doing fine, Dave. Thanks. Thanks to you and Susan for inviting me to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
We appreciate you. I guess I'm just going to start this. What got you into writing this book?
Actually, I should say Rosemary got me into it. I reached out to Rosemary. I've had paranormal experiences since I was about 5 years old, that kind of ebb and flow. I had some like 2006 to 2009, 2010 that were pretty bizarre. And I heard Rosemary on Coast to Coast AM, sent her an email. Long story short, she came to Greene County, became friends of the family, and we were having lunch one day in Waynesburg, and she said, because I was just telling her all these stories I'd heard and some of the personal experiences, and she said, you should write a book. She founded Visionary Living Publishing, which was a publisher for my first two books. She said, I'll edit and I'll publish it, and we'll just put it out there. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of how it came about.
Now, you've written 3 books, right?
I'm working on the 4th.
Excellent.
We're going to leave links to the books we do have in our description box. You can buy them on Amazon.
Correct.
And again, we have them here. Excellent reading. And again, I recommend it.
Thank you.
So I guess, Sue, we pretty much found this book after I met you at the Scenery Hill Festival.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you're local, you can come out and meet Kevin at a lot of different events.
Right.
That's correct.
And I think that's the one thing that having local authors is always nice to have in our community, the talent to write these books, research these books. So what really kind of made you say, hey, listen, there's some crazy things happening in Greene County?
Personal experience. I have not said this often publicly, but a lot of what I've written, especially in the first book, was personal experience. I just used pseudonyms, I think is the correct term. Our youngest daughter was in high school at the time, and she and I had some merry misadventures at the place. I think it's called, the chapter's called Angry Spirits of the Land. That's really what the stuff that happened in that chapter is why I reached out to Rosemary. So a lot of personal experience.
So in your opinion, what is the most haunted place in Greene County?
The most haunted place in Greene County that has public access, the public can go to, or?
Yeah.
Most haunted place that the public can access, I would say right now, is be a toss-up between the Historical Society, and there's a stretch of road that runs along 10 Mile Creek. It's in the 3rd book in a chapter called Bookends on a Shelf Full of Strange. It's just kind of a liminal space between 2 locations. There's a bridge at each end of this little road trip you can take that has just a lot of really weird stuff.
Wow. What's the most haunted place that people can't go to?
One would be the farm that's in the first book, and the second, I've been on a bit on invitation, but I can't reveal the location because they have problems with trespassers and vandalism.
I understand.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we were kind of enthused with this because we always really said most haunted county in America. that's sort of what we were using to like promote some of the videos. But definitely there's a lot of things that through the book that we have to shake our heads at because it seems it touches base with just about everything.
Yeah, so what's the backstory of the most haunted county in America? What made you and Rosemary come up with that identification?
Actually, Rosemary came up with that. At the time she passed, she had written at least 60 books. It might have been closer to 70.
Wow.
And she was the one that came up with the most haunted county in America, comparing it to places like Gettysburg and places in the UK. Because we seem to have it all, and up until recently, I used to say we have it all except for a Thunderbird. But I've got a very, very credible Thunderbird report January of this year. So we it's a busy place.
I'm amazed at everything that Greene County has. When Dave and I took a drive down there a couple weeks ago, I pointed out to Dave that we needed to pay attention for the Mothman-like creature that was seen down there.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of folks have been talking to me who, in general, that I know personally, and saying, they'll never look at Greene County the same again.
No, as you shouldn't. And I've talked to a few of my friends who, I'm sure if you want to hear some more stories, like I told her UFO story on one of our episodes a few weeks ago.
I watched that this morning.
Yeah, so sure she would love to tell it to you in person.
I'd love to hear it in person.
Okay, Lucy, we're going to connect you with Kevin.
Interesting that your personal stories makes it even more worthwhile. I know recently we've been talking to people about ghosts and we're trying to get some local ghost stories on air here. And weirdly, we both have them, which is something off the wall as well, that it's a small world where you're doing a podcast and you can actually participate because you were there. And you can do that with your book.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about Bigfoot first. We've seen some of the things you wrote and what other people have said. Is it? I don't want to say hotspot. Everybody uses that word, hotspot, but definitely the sightings have been pretty marked.
There's been several. Some are more credible than others. The only ones I put in the book were the ones I thought were credible. I saw what I thought could have been like 2/3 of a Sasquatch, actually right by the museum several years ago. And it was last fall at a small Bigfoot get-together in Jefferson, PA, in Greene County. There's a young lady there that corroborated it because she lived in that area right beside the museum. Now, she didn't actually see the creature, but something would throw rocks onto their patio or their deck. And I saw something like from the shoulders down to the knees. I didn't see the head or didn't see the feet. It was reddish brown and covered with fur. I don't know what else till I've learned otherwise, that's what I consider it to be.
Yeah, I think we've had that discussion on air here, Sue and I, with a lot of folks it's a bear. Have you ever seen a bear? They're pretty unique in themselves. And, they do stand on their hind legs, not for long periods of time.
Right.
And they do have a specific and distinct silhouette. Everybody's familiar with them. If you're out in the woods at any, length of time, you go to the mountains, which I do, you can pick a bear out, I think, compared to something that's, more human-like, right?
Correct. Yeah, I've seen bears in the wild in Greene County, and this wasn't a bear. It was the wrong color, and compared to a bear, it looked rather disheveled. Bears, I don't really care to get up close to one in the wild, but they looked fairly neat compared to what I saw.
Yeah.
Groomed almost.
Groomed, that's a good word, yes.
So I have a question about one that was in Haunted Hills and Hallows, where you talked about the incidents at around the area of the Crow Massacre.
Okay.
And the couple that lived near there, the husband had seen some sort of creature that Dave and I said sounds like a Bigfoot to us. So we put it in with the Bigfoot.
The one that appeared in the road?
Yeah, that he saw with the off-roading lights on his vehicle.
I talked to, when I was researching that, spoke to Stan Gordon, and he had said, in some aspects it may have displayed a little bit of sort of canine behavior. In the early days of Bigfoot research, that cryptid would have been lumped in as a Sasquatch. So that's what it seemed credible, and I spoke to the wife. I didn't speak to the husband, and I spoke to a bus driver that used to wait there by Crow's Rock, and she heard something but never saw it there on more than one morning. So I would say it was a Sasquatch or Sasquatch-like. That
feels right to me. And another story that we told on one of our videos was from my same friend who had the UFO sighting. We think her brother saw a dogman down in Greene County. Have you heard anything about other dogman sightings down there?
What part of Greene County?
It was over in Dry Tavern area.
Wouldn't surprise me. There was a dogman sighting came out of my mind went blank. Nemacolin a few years ago. I have a friend that lives in Rice's Landing along a river, which is just down from Dry Tavern. She had an encounter with some kind of a canid on the river trail. There has been stories of dogmen in the western end of the county around West Greene High School, and there's also one I heard on the internet in the Wheeling Creek watershed, that same watershed Crow's Rock is in. I'm not so sure that that one I had some questions about, but the one from Rice's Landing, I would say is possible. There was had two witnesses saw one, if you're familiar where Gerard's Ford is, mm-hmm. between George Ford and Carmichael's on Ceylon Road.
Okay, yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me. In the third book, there's a canid seen not far from the Greene County Memorial Park along 188.
Yeah.
But I think it was actually a werewolf as opposed to a dogman.
Okay.
Wow.
That's something we need to talk about, the difference between the two.
Right. Folks, if you enjoy this content and what Kevin's talking about today, don't forget to look up his books on Amazon. He has 3 books and a 4th coming out. Kevin Paul, basically the one we're talking about today, or 2 of them. We'll put them up on a screen. Haunted Hills and Hallows, and of course, Haunted Hills and Hallows 2. Excellent books. Greene County is a special place. It's got a lot, and you're going to hear some things here that really might blow your mind, because all in one county. And it could be that your county has things as well, but Greene County seems to be, again, a hotbed, the key word of the day, of this type of activity. So, again, don't forget to hit that like button or
squash that like button.
And we appreciate you. So we know that cryptids are, to me, it seems like cryptids seem to be more popular in people who are interested in, and I throw cryptids in the same boat. It's paranormal because it's outside of what we would say is normal in our lives. So we know that that's drawn a lot of fascination from our short time here as podcasters. And we're going to continue to follow those leads, but we also know there are, as Sue said, there's varieties of cryptids. We're looking at Bigfoot, dog-type men. A werewolf is a whole different breed. What are we thinking about werewolves here?
Well, that particular instance, it was an upright canid that sort of paralleled a guy as he rode a bicycle on his way home from work. I didn't think that fit into the, I don't know how else to say it, the dogman stereotype,
No.
because it wasn't threatening. It was just seemed to be paralleling him, and then it had stopped where he could see it, and there was a couple in the car that also had seen it as well. I did a lot of digging on the internet and found that archaeologists had confirmed that there was a wolf cult among the Adena culture, and we did have Adena in Greene County, and we did have Adena shaman, and European werewolves attack and rip throats out and that sort of thing, and it is thought that the Adena shaman would take the form of a werewolf to travel the astral plane, like take on some of the strengths of the wolf, and you become like a wolf-human hybrid, and you travel the astral plane to do things to benefit the tribe. So since this showed no hostility and didn't fit the European stereotype, I believe it seemed to go along with Native American lore. In my opinion, I think what the guy actually saw was sort of like a time slip where he saw a shaman doing whatever he needed to do for his tribe.
That's really cool. That's a really cool experience. I didn't know any of that.
No,
I've not heard that story.
we do know Native American folklore is amazing.
It is.
Throughout the country.
And a lot of it has been buried.
Sadly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of it that's come out of Greene County. I know the one story that was in Haunted Hills was about the apartment building that they had heard the Native American drumming every now and then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I understood how I got on that track in the first book because it was history, and some of it was family history because I'm descended from the Reinhardts that settled that valley, and they were good Germans, and Germans do what Germans do when they shoot people. Yeah. And my ancestors skirmished with the indigenous population. The second and third book wasn't quite as much Native American, but this last one, the one I'm working on now, has taken a very strong tilt towards Native American spirituality, and it's tough to research, but it's really interesting once you begin to understand it.
Yeah, I think we kind of love to be drawn into that Native American lore because, again, we don't really hear a lot about it. There isn't.
No.
Sadly, and this is the truth with Greene County history, Washington County history, we don't get taught a lot about our own history here. We have the Whiskey Rebellion run. There's a lot of things we gloss over when we teach our kids about our own history, which there are Native Americans in our history. Very little about it, and that's let alone getting into their lore, what they believe, what they have experienced. So yeah, we're looking forward to that fourth book because that'll definitely fascinate us, and I'm sure we'll probably get stuck on that for a while.
That's going to be very exciting.
It's a rabbit hole.
It is. I don't envy you, Kevin. The amount of research it takes to do just these videos, I can't imagine what it does what you have to do to research a book.
I'm a lot slower. I know people that will put 1 or 2 books out a year, and I just can't. I get one written, and I have to take a break.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Rosemary described it was almost like channeling. And I saw a cartoon once, had a group of people and a group of authors in a coffee shop, and everybody was standing back from the counter, and there's these 2 robed figures getting their coffee first, and one author saying to the other, well, those are the muses, they're always here first. And that seems the way it works, because you'll be driving down the road and something will come into your mind, and you have to write it down, because if you forget it, then it might be 3 or 4 weeks before it comes back. I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah,
no,
no,
the way it works.
Yeah.
creative people can be in all forms and variances how their mind works, but it all comes out the same as a work of art. To me, a book is a work of art, and we appreciate that. I think, go ahead, Sue. I know you're going to say.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. So what's your favorite paranormal story out of Greene County?
If it was going to be a humorous story, it'd be The Ghost of Frank Bryan in the first book. Greene County, I'd have to say Art Huck on Temple Ridge.
Okay.
Because actually I'm Art Huck.
Oh, okay. That's I was gonna deep dive that in one of our next episodes.
That was the summer I got out of high school, and it's one of those things, you know. At the time, I just kind of blew it off, and then you get a little older and you start looking into it, and you're just like, oh wow, this is like a lot different than what I just blew it off at the time. I was a kid.
Give us a little more detail on that.
What would you like to know? Just what happened?
Yeah.
Well, it was the summer I got out of high school. Grew up on a farm. If you go a few miles over the hill from where I grew up, which was just up from the museum, you're in the little crossroads of Fordyce, PA. And there's a dairy farm there. Greene County at one time had quite a number of small dairy farms, and my brother was milking, I believe, 36 head.
Wow.
And he offered me a job in the summer helping him milk cows. And he had a girl he was sweet on at the time that lived in West Virginia, so he took off for a weekend, and I was left in charge. And we had a malfunction in the gutter cleaner that took the manure out of the barn. I didn't get it fixed till late in the day, so in the summer we spread manure every day. So I was late getting up on the hill to spread it, and Temple Ridge at that time was kind of a lover's lane, and I was up there spreading manure, and I saw what I thought was car taillights in the field, and I got all excited, and I thought, finally, I caught somebody up here, and I could sling cow poop all over their car.
Oh, wow.
And then I realized it was way too big for a car, and it was the tail. And I've always been kind of a gearhead, so I realized it wasn't car taillights. It was too big, and it was the wrong color. So I shut the tractor off and shut the lights off, and I was sitting there in the quiet, looking at this thing. What is this? What is this? What is this? And then in my mind was something along the lines of, it's a UFO, and there's little green men from Mars, and I about had a cow. I was so panicked. This was an old style diesel tractor where you pull the kill switch to shut it off. I was trying to start it without disengaging the kill switch, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're got it running, got off the hill, went home. The next day, I was back. At the end of the day, it was dark. I thought, okay, I'm going to drive down this road to prove to myself that I just completely misinterpreted all this. And this thing that looked like an owl, Temple Ridge Road at that time was, typical Western PA Red Dog Road. Some of it had grass in the middle, and beautiful summer night, you're riding with the windows down. I was driving my parents' 72 Pontiac LeMans, and this thing that looked like an owl flew down like from above and behind the car, down in front of the car, and the Pontiacs at that time had a crease in the hood. It would be like the center of the lane you were in. And it was directly centered in the center of the road along with that crease, and it flew in front of me along a certain ways, and then it just swooped off. I was regressed later and got a lot more detail, but it was just one of those things that I just, for a long time I didn't talk about it. And then you talk about it and everybody would laugh, and then you get older and you start looking into it and you realize that, owls are what do you call it when somebody implants an image in your mind? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
term just left me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But when I was regressed, it looked like a hollow tube with wings.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool. And so you tell this story, it's chapter 2 in the second volume of Haunted Hills and Hollows.
Yeah, I think folks probably got to wrap their head around some of this stuff, because I think generally people just think about things generically: a Bigfoot, a UFO in the sky, a ghost in a cemetery, but there's more to it.
Yeah, I think it's all connected. I'm in the single source camp. You know, it comes to Bigfoot, I'm definitely woo. I think it's single source. I think this is what the Native Americans worked with. And the more I read the folklore, the more it makes sense. And I know a lot of people don't like folklore because it's folklore, but
I was listening to another podcast a couple of weeks ago where the host said that the Native American spirits are what he uses to debunk the Bigfoot is an alien theory.
I could see how that would work.
Yeah, when he said it, I went, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah, this might be, veering off where you wanted to go, but if, there's starting to be talk, especially on Capitol Hill with plasmas and UAPs.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. There's been work done going back even to the 70s and earlier with sentient plasma. So they're not actually alien, they're terrestrial, but they're more like John Keel's ultra-terrestrials. And there's been some folks like Gregory L. Little has written a lot about Native American spirituality, and that's the conclusion he came to.
Okay. I didn't know any of that.
No,
Pretty
but-
cool.
I've only learned it in the last year and a half, and it's the first time you read it, you have to read it and reread it, and then find it on a podcast and listen to it, and then it starts to make sense.
I have to take deep dive that one. That's pretty cool.
Okay, I guess maybe we can take a next stop here to just out and out spiritual things like ghosts, hauntings. Obviously, we know that the museum down in Greene County, or the Historical Society, is haunted. That's what we understand.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
And I guess in a big way. What do you know about that?
Well, it was built. It was actually built by some of my ancestors, and then it became the poor farm. Not the structure as it is now, just the original house. So any place where you have a lot of emotional turmoil, there's tendency to be hauntings. Some of the stuff down there is repetitive, and some of it is interactive. I have not followed the repetitive stuff very much because I'm more interested in the interactive stuff.
So we're talking about something that goes over and over again like
Correct.
a broken record.
Yeah.
And then the other is something that just can interact with you as a human being.
Correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
that's
And I
interesting.
Can't remember the terms. One's a residual haunting.
One and the other one. The most accurate term I've heard is intelligent haunting.
Okay.
Yeah, one's residual and one's intelligent. So if you know anything, that used to be described as stone tape theory, but the guy named Brandon Masulo, who's, I don't remember, he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist in Ohio, has done research on it, and he believes that like in cases of severe emotional trauma, you send like a telepathic distress signal, which becomes recorded, and it can just play over and over again. So that would be residual. There's also intelligent hauntings there that interact with people, and they don't quite fit. They're unusual enough that you wouldn't think they would fit in with what would go on a poor farm. For example, I was there one evening with my wife. There's myself, my wife, another couple, and the director. And we were going through the building, and the other woman came out of the ladies' room and said that she had seen an Indian, not a Native American, but an Indian woman in there. So my wife went in, and it smelled so much like curry, it almost inflamed her eyes.
Wow.
Wow.
There's another case that I know of where there was a group doing an investigation down in what's called the dungeon in the basement. And they were chased out by a very aggressive humanoid entity that looked like a military man, probably an officer from his uniform. Again, that would be a little out of context for a poor farm. And then I heard last month there was two gentlemen who were doing an investigation that ran into somebody in an entity dressed like your stereotypical, remember the Three Stooges when the prisoners would wear black and white stripes?
Yeah.
That's the way he was dressed, except he's extremely nasty. And all the other spirits just shut down and wouldn't say anything. That to me is trickster behavior. It's not, and again, that's trickster as Native American understanding. You run into a spiritual entity that's there to test you. And if you pass the test, what they're trying to do is determine what your intentions are. And if your intentions is to learn, then you will learn more. But if your intention is to become more famous in front of the camera, then you'll be stuck with whatever you're seeing there. You'll just see that over and over again. So I think that's textbook, my opinion, indicative of trickster behavior. Because the two guys that I talked to that ran into the prisoner, they said, we don't know what that was, but it wasn't a prisoner. And it actually followed one guy's daughter home.
Wow.
Yikes.
But they were able to get rid of it. But again, this is kind of a personal thing with me. Two of my great-grandfathers were poor directors. One of them actually was the steward there for a short time. And the stuff that's said about William Cage is just inaccurate. The really, really bad stuff happened before he got there. Yeah, he beat people, but it was 1890. They didn't know what else to do.
So these poorhouses were modeled after the ones they had in England, where
from what I've read, it seems like they started off with good intention, and then they became a dumping ground.
Oh, okay.
And then, in the case of Greene County, anyway, if you're a transient, the officials could have you put in the poorhouse, and then they could give you 3 hots to the couch a little bit, and then you were sent on your way. You were sent home, or wherever you came from. But people with mental disabilities, before Dixmont and all that sort of thing, they just orphans. They used to put kids there before they had a children's home. It just got out of hand.
So a lot of negative, as we would say, negative energy.
Correct.
Yeah.
And part of what goes on there, again, this is just my opinion, there's a tremendous amount of there were, I'm not sure if they're still there now, a tremendous amount of Native American remains that were taken from graves that were excavated during the Depression. And I think that plays a big role because if you're there long enough, sometimes you can actually hear them. They want to go home, and they're in boxes.
Oh, that leads me to another question about the Crow story.
Yes.
From the first book. So you talked about that the natives might have been trying to push the Crow family off of their ground because it was a sacred ground. Is there confirmed burial ground evidence on that property?
At the time I wrote that, I was speculating because I knew I'm semi-retired. I still work part-time for the government organization that designed a series of flood control dams for Wheeling. And one of the dams is on the former Crow Farm. It's a dry dam, so it only floods if there's excessive flow. But I saw the original drawings and the original survey that showed 2 mounds on there. Now, since then, a friend of mine was able to obtain a document from the West Virginia University Library that mentioned the two mounds, and there's also an adjacent village that was on higher elevation. And then I read an excavation report, I think from the 60s, that mentioned there was probably earthworks there, but they couldn't find archaeological evidence of earthworks, but they had so much anecdotal evidence that there had been earthworks there that they accepted it as true. So I would say yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's a good theory as to why that attack may have happened.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. That's interesting.
You think across the country, and maybe it's indicative of every place across the country, obviously this type of activity isn't limited to Greene County.
No.
And it just so happens there just seems to be a lot more recordable things that happen there. But, as far as we've dealt with Bigfoot or dogman, even the Wendigo, which is out west, these legends pretty much, even though they're spaced by time and culture, still are all very similar. Is that right?
That's correct. Actually, there's been people claiming to see Wendigos in Greene County.
That was my next question.
Some of them I don't believe. One of them I do.
Okay.
Maybe explain to our audience what a Wendigo is.
Usually the way they appear is like a humanoid figure with kind of a skull and antlers for a head. I have not studied the Native American beliefs on them a lot yet. So I'm not going to say what I think the Native Americans thought they were, but that when most people when they describe a Wendigo, that's what they'll see. But then again, it could be trickster behavior, because tricksters will read you and show you things show you what they think you want to see.
I understand, yeah. And I know we've talked about them a few here and there on our videos.
Yeah.
We've did a little research on it. And there's a difference between Wendigos and skinwalkers. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to do a little deep dive in at some point, but
We will, yeah.
not yet.
But yeah, across the country. So yeah, so you're pretty much in agreement to say, yeah, that time and space doesn't matter. Bigfoot's a Bigfoot matter, ghosts are ghosts, UFOs, pretty much across the country. We're just talking about America right now, of course, around the world as well. And so this isn't unique. I guess what I'm asking here, is this unique to humans to be so interested in this stuff?
Yeah, see, to me, what's considered paranormal is simply a spiritual issue. And people don't want to go down the spiritual path with the unexplained, because the way you explain the unexplained from a spiritual sense is you either look at folklore or you look at religious beliefs, both of which carry consequences. And here in the United States, we're a little bit adverse to suffering consequences. So people, and we're materialists, myself included. So we want to go through the scientific approach where you have to replicate things in the laboratory, and everything has to be material. And I used to feel that way too, but it's just simply not the way it works. I heard on a broadcast the other day, I think it was Nietzsche said that there was a hole in the human heart, of the human spirit, that could only be filled by God. And part of the reasons people are so interested in the paranormal is they're seeking to fill a spiritual void. This is going to sound judgmental, but they're doing it through entertainment, and that's not really the way to go, because there's so much more. It's so much deeper and broader than cheap thrills.
But that makes a lot of sense, because we've talked about the Victorians here
Oh,
on
yeah.
this channel, and that the Victorians had seances because they were trying to contact people who had passed. So they were doing it through entertainment, but at the same time, they were so used to losing people. They were trying to reach out to those people that they've lost.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I can't really point to any one place where I got started on the spiritual worldview I have now. There's a paper by a guy named John Richards called Appalachian Folk Magic and Protestant Christianity. Because that's where
That's
I
a
am.
mouthful.
Wow.
And I can, it makes perfect sense to me because, I grew up Presbyterian and everything was black and white.
Yeah.
And then you experience this stuff and you realize everything's gray. And it makes for some interesting conversations. But if you just like at Scenery Hill, you go to conferences or shows like that, and you can have these profound spiritual conversations because, everybody's looking to fill that void.
Yeah, and humans, especially Americans, are wider than they are deep when
That's
it comes
correct.
to this. And I know from my other video channels that people don't research, don't think very deeply. They want the easy answer.
I was set up at the Harvest Festival at the museum a number of years ago, and a pastor of one of the larger churches in Waynesburg asked me what happened to people after they die.
Wow.
And I was like, you
Wow.
know?
Oh, wow.
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 And I had a pastor ask me what I thought consciousness was, and I haven't heard from him since because I said, well, I think the church means well, but they didn't tell the whole story. And you kind of have to tread lightly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this, how, Western Christianity sort of is out of a box. It's like, it's not the real form of anything,
No.
And the farther we get from the reality, we get odder and odder. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Iterations of it. And it gets farther away from any real truth.
Yeah, in the second book, you'd asked me what my the most important Greene County experience. In the second book, the chapter about the Morgan, that was actually in Marshall County, West Virginia.
Okay.
And that was a huge game changer because, it was 2 years leading up to it. I'd had all these experiences and dreams. And then I see this Iron Age goddess, which, as a Christian, you're like, oh my God, So I had to read some pagan stuff to understand who the Morgan was. And then on advice that some of them gave me, I had a conversation with her and said, look, I'm Christian and I can't follow you, but I'll listen to what you have to say. And I know there was a family member approached me after that book came out. It's nobody in my immediate family. And said I was talking to a demon. And I said, well, first of all, we need to define what a demon is. And second of all, you're telling me that God can only send messengers that you approve of.
That's, yeah.
In the West, they do.
In the West, they do. And yeah, exactly. But you read like Michael Heiser and that kind of stuff, a demon is a supernatural being with supernatural power that's not God, and there's scads of them.
That's an excellent point.
This is deep. I mean,
Yeah.
folks, we're just touching the surface here. Nothing's that cut and dry, black and white, as you said. There's
No.
a lot, if not all, gray. And none of us, and I think in our last video, Sue and I said that none of us have all the answers.
No.
And, because there are people who think they have it all solved.
Yeah, you get one answer and you go to bed and then you wake up the next morning and you've got 10 more questions.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You start down one rabbit hole and find yourself having tea with a mouse.
Folks,
Yeah.
folks, this is a great interview. We appreciate you watching. Remember, if you enjoy the content here on Nights Around the Fire, our podcast, hit the like button right now, or
Squash that like button.
share and subscribe to the video. Kevin's books are available on Amazon, and there's going to be 4. Kevin, when's the 4th actually going to come out?
I'm hoping to have it out this fall. It's going to depend on my editor's been a little under the weather, and every time I think I've wrapped one chapter up, it gets longer.
So friends, stay tuned, and maybe Kevin, you could give us a list of appearances you'll be at fairs or festivals that you attend.
In July, I'll be at the Paris Storm Fest in Westmoreland County. The next big one after that is also in July in Greenville, PA, Knights of Columbus show. We'll be in Weirton in October at a witch festival, a harvest festival of the Greene County Historical Society. If folks want to look at Haunted Hills and Hallows on Facebook, I have a schedule posted there.
Okay.
Check it out, friends, because you can buy his books at these events.
And
I sell books by other authors as well.
So so stop over and say, hey, you saw him on Nights Around the Fire. Give us a plug. I would appreciate that. I guess in closing, maybe we should kind of just ask this. If somebody's out there and they watch shows like ours, there's plenty of them, a lot of them, and they want to get a better grip, they can get your books and read it. Where's the best, or how's the best way for them to start investigating and understanding the events that we've talked about, whether it's paranormal, whether it's UFOs? I mean, is there any one place to kind of a one-stop shop where they can maybe get their feet wet?
I guess it would depend on what they're investigating. I would say read John Keel. Some of his stuff isn't the easiest to read. Read Jacques Vallée, Passport to Magonia, that sort of thing. If they're interested in ghosts, read Brandon Masulo. If they're interested in all the current talk about plasmas, which I think, in my opinion, that's the answer to this. Read Gregory L. Little and Andrew Collins, Dr. Heather Lynn. Rosemary wrote a tremendous amount of stuff that's good. Her encyclopedias are very good. What I've done is sort of catalog personal experiences and then tried to find literature where people have researched it. And like I say, I look at these things through a folklore lens, so where everything matches up. But the most important thing is to, whatever your intentions are. If you want attention and you want to be in front of a camera, I would recommend against it. If you want to learn, then it's fascinating.
You're dead here, folks. We get a lot of, I get a lot of people that kind of ask me general questions, and we say we don't have those answers. We don't. And you just answered a lot of things we sure didn't know, and clarified some of our questions for sure. Maybe it's a chance meeting. I'm really happy I got to meet you up there in Scenery.
Yeah, this has been a blessing. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Do we have time for one more story?
Yeah.
You tell us your Flight 427 story.
That's
before we
right.
wrap.
We've been talking about this for a while.
I want to hear the story.
I can't tell you the date because it was quite a while before the event actually happened.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
For anybody who doesn't know, Flight 427 crashed on September 8th, 1994. It was the worst plane crash in the Pittsburgh area.
So it started out, I was on home where I grew up, and I was in the dream I was mowing hay on my grandparents' farm because my parents' house was 5 acres that was subdivided off of their 248. So in the dream, for some reason, I noticed like an airliner. And again, this was sort of based in fact because I was in high school. I was mowing hay one summer afternoon, and there's a National Guard helicopter that had flown out of Washington that they lost their fuel pump. And they auto-gyroed down and landed hard in the field I was in. And there's a crew flew down the next day, and they got it running, and they took it away. So in the dream, it was kind of the same thing. Same field, same scenario. And I saw this airliner. Again, we grew up not too far from the Greene County Airport, and I was always fascinated by flight. So I knew it was a Boeing from the silhouette, and it had the old U.S. Air markings on it. And I remember I stopped the tractor, and I was sitting on it watching this airliner, and it just rolled over and flew into the ground and exploded. And I knew when it hit the ground that there wasn't a living soul on that aircraft. Knew what had happened to them, but they were all dead. And then I woke up. So a number of years later, I was driving to work, and I had the radio on, and that story came on about the airline crashing, and I was like, well, that's really bad, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, my God.
Wow.
Because they said, what was it, a 737, I think?
It was 737, yeah.
And this is a true story. For a number of years, my wife had to fly for work, and we were in charge of buying the tickets. I would not book her on a Boeing.
Wow.
I was just, because there were some other ones that kind of rolled over that they thought maybe the one in Egypt in particular, they thought the pilot had done it deliberately. And I was just, I got over that, but for a while that really shook me up.
Yeah. Wow, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, especially because it is a local story.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. I've had a lot of dreams since then, family stuff that had come through, or you'll hear things in real time. Our daughter was going to drive down to California to visit a friend on campus, and my wife, I was at work, my wife was home. My wife was hesitant to let her go. And she sent me a text and said she was going to go. And I heard a voice clear as a bell say, don't let her go. This is not a good day to drive to California. And she made it about 4 miles from home and got rear-ended by a guy with no inspection, no insurance, no license.
Wow.
Totaled the vehicle. Nobody got hurt.
Yeah, that's interesting. A forewarning.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, folks, it's a real deal, and I think anybody that wants to place a comment, what they think about this, you're welcome to do so. If you want to email us and get us some questions, we can reach out to Kevin. Do that at strangeworlds777@yahoo.com. Again, we want people who really want to know, maybe understand something that might have happened to you. We know that it's confusing. We know there's a lot of different variations of what people believe out there, but if you want to take us up on our offer, send us your information, your question, and we'll be happy to try to get back to you. Anything else, Sue?
No, thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate you coming in. We hope you'll come back when your book comes
Yes,
out.
we'd like to have you again.
You're welcome. Thank you, and I certainly will. I'll send you a copy.
Awesome, thank you.
Once again, folks, if you enjoy our content, please subscribe, like,
Watch.
and share. We're going to continue our process of getting you some of the best content we can to get you information, understanding. Again, if you want to buy Kevin's books, again, you can go to some of these festivals he'll be at. You go on his Facebook page. You can find where those festivals are, those in the area. We also know you can get them on Amazon. We're going to advertise them here for him because we think it's a great book, all of them, and we know you'll enjoy them, and I know they answer a lot of questions because we know there are a lot of questions when it comes to these types of activities. And Sue and I don't have the answers, and Kevin helped us today with a lot of that, the questions we had from his books. And again, you'll enjoy those books. So stay tuned next time. Sue?
Next time? Yeah, well, we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming out. We've got a backlog here for you.
We have a backlog.
We might try we might try a nice twist on the Sasquatch story in our next episode.
Okay,
Stay tuned.
so stay tuned. I'm sure Sue has something up her sleeve. Well, she doesn't have sleeves on today.
There's something in there.
We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time right here on the Nights Around the Fire podcast. Take care.
Thanks, guys.